The crystal champagne glasses rang with a melodious chime as Diana, my stepmother, raised her third toast of the evening. "To my darling husband's retirement," she proclaimed, her designer gown shimmering like liquid gold under the opulent ballroom lights. "And to selling this tired old company for something far more exciting." The words hung in the air like an ill-placed chandelier, their weight pressing visibly on my father's shoulders. Though he mustered a polite smile, his eyes betrayed him. Chin Manufacturing wasn't just a company. It was his legacy, his life's work, painstakingly built over 3 decades. Now, at his retirement celebration, he was watching his glamorous wife of 5 years casually plot its dismantling. But Diana wasn't finished. Her gaze found me across the crowded room, her heavily mascaraed eyes sparkling with malice. "Of course," she said, her voice cutting through the uneasy chatter, "some people thought they'd inherit this company." Her tone dripped with mock pity as she continued, "Poor Alexandra, thinking Daddy would hand over a multi-million-dollar business to someone who can't even hold a relationship for more than 6 months." The room fell into an awkward hush. A few board members shuffled uncomfortably, while others found sudden fascination with their drinks. My father stared at his shoes, his silence a familiar echo of years spent avoiding confrontation. "It's for the best, really," Diana purred, her voice laced with false kindness. "Running a company requires maturity, experience, and a proper family image." She punctuated her words with a delicate pat on her perfectly flat stomach, a pointed reminder of her recent announcement that she was trying to give my father a real heir. Heat rushed to my cheeks, but I kept my expression neutral, refusing to give her the satisfaction of a reaction. Let her bask in her moment of triumph. She had no idea what was coming. Diana tilted her head, the picture of saccharine sweetness. "Would you like to say something, Alexandra? Perhaps congratulate your father on his retirement and his wise decision about the company's future." I rose slowly, smoothing the lapels of my black blazer. At 28, I was young for a CFO, but I had earned every inch of my position. Diana, of course, thought otherwise. To her, I was just a grieving daughter kept around out of my father's guilt after my mother's passing. "Actually," I said, my voice calm and steady, "I do have something to say." Her smirk widened, anticipating tears, a plea, perhaps even a scene. Instead, I walked to the center of the room with measured grace and pulled a thick envelope from my briefcase. 6 months ago, I began, addressing the room, Chin Manufacturing underwent a quiet restructuring. The board approved it unanimously. Several board members exchanged knowing glances, their subtle nods confirming my words. My father looked up, his brows knitting in confusion. As part of that restructuring, my father transferred majority ownership to a new holding company, I continued, savoring the flicker of uncertainty in Diana's expression. That company is called NLW Enterprises. The name hung in the air, its significance dawning slowly. Diana's perfectly made-up face twisted in confusion. "NLW," I said, letting the moment linger, "stands for Mary Louise Wong, my mother's name." The room erupted in murmurs. Diana's champagne glass trembled in her hand. What are you talking about?" she stammered, her voice losing its usual edge. I approached the nearest table and laid out a stack of documents from the envelope. "These papers confirm that I now own 67% of Chin Manufacturing through NLW Enterprises. My father retains 30%, and the remaining 3% is divided among key employees." The murmurs turned into a cacophony of gasps and whispers. Diana lunged for the papers, her manicured nails scratching at the pages as if sheer force could make them disappear. "This is impossible," she shrieked, spinning toward my father. "James, tell her this isn't true." My father, for the first time in years, stood tall, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "It's all legal, Diana," he said, his voice calm. "Alexandra has earned this. She's been running the company for the past 2 years while I allowed myself to be distracted. But we had plans." Diana's voice rose to a fever pitch. "The house in the Hamptons, the yacht club membership." "About that," I interjected, pulling out another document. "As majority owner, I've been reviewing company expenses, including the suspiciously generous consulting fees paid to your brother's fake marketing firm and those business trips that always ended at luxury spas." Diana paled, her mask of composure shattering. "You wouldn't dare. I already have. The board has approved a full audit, and law enforcement is very interested in your creative accounting." She turned to my father, desperation etched into every line of her face. "James, are you going to let her do this to me? To us? I'm your wife." He straightened his shoulders, his voice steady. "My late wife, Mary, helped me build this company. She made me promise it would go to Alexandra when the time was right. She's proven herself capable. And you," his voice softened with regret, "you've proven yourself too. Just not in the way you intended." Diana's world crumbled before our eyes. Her designer purse slipped from her grasp, spilling its contents across the polished floor. Among the scattered items was a USB drive, a very familiar one. I stooped to pick it up, holding it aloft. "Looking for a buyer for our proprietary designs?" I asked, my tone icy. The room froze. Diana's silence was answer enough. "Trade secrets." I picked up the sleek, black USB drive that held the answers to months of unanswered questions. Those suspicious lunch meetings with competitors, the sudden shifts in strategy. Diana's face twisted with fury, her composure shattered. "How dare you?" she hissed, raising her hand as if to strike me. But before she could make contact, my father's strong grip stopped her. "That's enough," he said firmly. I straightened my jacket and faced her with cold calm. "Security will escort you out," I said, my voice steady but sharp. "Your personal belongings will be sent to you after they're inspected for any other company property. And Diana," I added with a smile as sweet as it was cutting, "don't worry about the prenup. There's a lovely clause about corporate espionage in there." Her scream echoed through the boardroom as two security guards arrived to lead her away. The room erupted into whispers, a mixture of shock and relief. Board members approached to offer congratulations, while employees exchanged looks of quiet vindication. For too long, Diana had ruled with a poisonous blend of charm and malice. Then my father pulled me into a rare embrace. "I've been such a fool," he said, his voice thick with regret. "Your mother would be so proud of you." I held him tightly, the familiar scent of his aftershave grounding me. "I know, Dad," I said softly. But the moment didn't last. My phone buzzed urgently. "Miss Chen," came the voice of Marcus, the head of IT security. "We've caught Diana's brother attempting to delete files from the company servers." A chill ran through me. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Touching the old wedding ring of my mother's that I wore on a chain around my neck, I squared my shoulders. "Ready for this, Dad?" He nodded, the fire returning to his eyes. "Lead the way, CO." As we stepped into the elevator, Diana's shrieks echoed from the lobby below. But I wasn't afraid. I had learned from the best. My mother's business instincts, my father's relentless innovation, even Diana's ruthless ambition. They'd all shaped me. Now, it was time to show the world what I'd become. The morning after the stormy retirement party, I arrived at Chen Manufacturing before dawn. My father was already in his office, packing away decades of memories. "Couldn't sleep either?" I asked, picking up a framed photo of him and my mother at the company's grand opening. He sighed, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "I've been thinking about your mother. She always said you had her instincts. Watch out for that girl, she'd tell me. She'll outshine us both someday." Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Marcus's voice was grave. "Miss Chen, we have a situation. Multiple attempts to access our servers from unauthorized locations. And you need to see this." Minutes later, I stared at my screen in disbelief. Someone had leaked confidential company emails to our competitors. But these weren't just any emails. They were carefully curated to frame Chen Manufacturing for corporate espionage. "Diana," I muttered. "She's trying to trigger an industry investigation." Marcus wasn't done. "There's more. She's also leaked evidence suggesting your takeover was illegal. The press is already running with it." Headlines flashed across my phone. "Tech heiress in hot water. Hostile takeover scandal. Family drama rocks industry giant." My father's face fell. "Alex, this is my fault. If I hadn't brought Diana into our lives." "Stop," I interrupted. "This isn't on you." I hit the intercom. "Janet, call an emergency board meeting. And get me Victoria Chan on the line." "Your cousin?" "The federal prosecutor?" my father asked, startled. I smiled grimly. "Diana wants to play dirty. Let's show her what that really means." The hours that followed were a whirlwind of chaos. Diana paraded herself on morning talk shows, painting a picture of a devoted wife fighting for justice. "I only want to protect my husband's legacy," she said, her eyes glistening with crocodile tears. "Alexander's hostile takeover has devastated him. And now, these allegations of corporate espionage." But in her desperation to ruin me, Diana had made a fatal mistake. She'd used the stolen USB drive to access company files, leaving behind a clear, irrefutable digital trail. "Got her," Marcus said triumphantly. "Legacy in steel and grace." Marcus strode into the room, his face alight with triumph. "Every unauthorized access, every leaked document, it all leads back to her brother's IP address," he declared. His grin widened. "But that's not all. We found emails between Diana and our biggest competitor, dating back months before she married your father." The realization hit me like a thunderclap. "She targeted Dad from the beginning," I murmured, the pieces snapping into place. Dad, seated silently across the room, finally spoke, his voice heavy with regret. "The whole marriage. It was a corporate raid," he said, shaking his head. "The oldest trick in the book. And I fell for it completely." As the weight of betrayal settled over us, my phone buzzed. My cousin Victoria was calling back. When I explained the situation, there was a pause on the other end. Then, in a measured tone, she said, "You know, we've been investigating Diana's brother's firm for months. Tax fraud, money laundering. But we could never prove where the funds were coming from. This could be exactly what we need." I didn't hesitate. "Do it," I said, my voice firm with resolve. The next morning, while Diana prepared for yet another TV interview to tarnish my reputation, federal agents stormed her brother's office. By evening, both siblings were in custody, and the truth was plastered across every major business news outlet. Corporate espionage scandal rocks industry. Chen family betrayal exposed. CEO's wife arrested in years-long marriage scam. Young CEO saves family empire from takeover. But the headlines were just the beginning. The deeper investigation unearthed a web of offshore accounts, shell companies, and a pattern of deceit spanning years. Diana and her brother had targeted 7 other wealthy business owners, using marriage as their gateway. We were supposed to be victim number 8. 3 days later, as the federal charges stacked against her, I visited Diana in custody. Gone was her designer wardrobe, replaced by an ill-fitting orange jumpsuit. Her eyes burned with fury. "How did you know?" she demanded. I reached into my pocket and pulled out an old photograph of my mother, standing proudly in front of Chen Manufacturing. "Because my mother dealt with people like you all the time," I said calmly. "She taught me to recognize the vultures circling our company." I leaned closer, my voice steady as steel. "She also made Dad promise to prepare me for this role, to protect her legacy. You were never going to win, Diana. You were playing checkers. I was playing chess." 3 months later, Chen Manufacturing was thriving. The scandal had only solidified our reputation, and our stock prices soared as clients and investors applauded how we managed the crisis. Dad, truly retired now, sent postcards from the places he and Mom had once dreamed of visiting. As for me, I hung Mom's photograph in my office, the CEO's office. Next to it was the latest award, Alexander Chen, youngest CEO of the year. Yet my proudest moment came during a charity gala. 2 society women were whispering nearby. "Did you hear about James Chen's daughter?" one said. "She exposed that gold digger conspiracy." "I heard," the other replied. "They say she's twice as brilliant as her mother was, and 3 times as ruthless when crossed." I smiled, my fingers brushing the ring I wore on a chain around my neck, the one Mom had always worn. They had no idea. In business, as in life, the best revenge isn't just serving it cold. It's building something so unshakable that no one dares try destroying it again. That evening, Dad called me from Greece. His voice was thick with emotion as he said, "Your mother would be so proud. Not just of the company, but of the person you've become." Looking out over the city from my office window, I thought about the lessons, the losses, and the victories. "I learned from the best," I said softly. "Both of you. That's the real essence of family legacy. Not the money or the company, but the strength to protect what matters, the wisdom to see the truth, and the courage to fight for it." Diana thought she could play games with our family. Instead, she sharpened me into the CEO Chen Manufacturing needed, a leader with the grace to inspire and the steel to withstand any storm. Just like Mom would have wanted,